Hi everyone, I'm Mindy Joyce and this is Marley Lynch, our
Hello.
social media expert here today from Sugarfly. And we have been scouring the internet. We've been looking at what a lot of brands are doing these days in terms of social media and what some of the mistakes we've found, which is kind of interesting. And so we've compiled our top 10 list of what we think, these are mistakes that companies can really quickly turn around. It's not a big deal. So we are pleased to bring them to you today. So maybe we'll kick off with the first one, which is really more of a long-range plan. It's called a conversational calendar, and that's something that a lot of companies use and a lot of companies don't use, and it's pretty easy to see who doesn't use it. The mistake really here is random tweets and things that are not really thought through. I think sometimes companies are lacking a little bit of kind of a strategic approach to this.
Right. You should really go through and think about, how long am I going to be doing this Facebook and Twitter campaign? Am I going to be planning this for a week in advance, for a month in advance, for a year in advance? What are some changes I'd like to see throughout that time period? It's great to know what you're going to say and what you're going to do before you do it, because it gives you a little more confidence. It gives you an ability to think about what you're going to say to your followers and your fans before you even go through and do it.
Right. And that's not to say that you're not responding regularly to tweets and tweeting out your own information in ways that are appropriate, but you also want to have kind of like an overall thing that's going on. I like to call it a big idea.
Yeah.
Like something that's it's really a bigger initiative. A lot of times brands they work with charities or they do things that are really wow. That's really interesting. I wanna follow them and see what they're doing.
And it's also important to know the timing of your tweets. You can use, there are some sort of applications that you can use that actually time your tweets at appropriate times of day. You want to get people while they're at work. Maybe you want to get people at dinner time if you're a restaurant or you're tweeting about food. There's definitely a timing involved with tweeting and Facebook. It's very important to think about for your campaign.
The second mistake, we see a lot of brands really without direction. They're not sure about their goals and what's going on. So we really like to approach it with starting to set some specific goals for that, right?
Right. For social media goals, we like to call them KPIs, or key performance indicators. These KPIs can be qualitative or quantitative. They can be how many Facebook fans you want to achieve or get. They want to be how many Twitter followers you want to get. It can even be how much interaction you want to see on these sites, which is very important and is a very good indicator for how you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And so many people, talk to me about, social media can't measure it. That is actually not true. And obviously you can measure it. So, really, if you have these set goals, you've got something to look back on to say, actually we did achieve that goal. Or, the great thing I love about social media is really you can make tweaks every single day.
True.
We always evaluate our campaigns, consistently. So, it's really
it's very organic.
helpful.
Right. Social media is very organic, and your goals can grow and change as your social media feeds grow and change along with your marketing scheme.
And that really goes on to our third mistake, which is having no personality behind the brand. Not really using the right language to reflect the kind of brand that you are.
Right. It's so important to inject as much, personality and, your brand personality into those 140 characters as you can. Tweets should be snappy. They should be magnetic. They should be, every one is kind of a little sentence that your brand is saying. So it's really important not to sort of be a drone or a robotic social media feed that people really just aren't going to be interested in following just because they're simply boring and they're not a good reflection of your brand. The next thing you want to think about is your business model and how it aligns with your social media models. There are a couple of ways that you can look into this. You might have a customer service model, and we see this a lot with the travel industry actually, with airline social media feeds. They constantly have to be putting out fires with people that are waiting in long lines. Maybe they're unhappy with their flight. Another model we see is the publisher model, and this is for magazines and newspapers. People are tweeting about their latest articles, their latest posts, and simply getting them to the site to read their content. Another model might just be a celebrity model, in that you just want interest in your brand. You want people to notice how funny you are, how interesting your site is. So those are some simple models that we see a lot.
Yeah, and the whole idea of the models is just understand the purpose. What are people expecting to hear from you about? And once you figure out that purpose and what they need you for, and you'll soon figure it out, then you'll be able to better craft the information that they're looking for as well. The next mistake is really, we see a lot of brands just having kind of one-sided conversations, getting the information out there that they want to get out there, and unfortunately, it actually ends up being a turn-off, I think, a lot of these times.
Right, it's very painful to see. When you see a Twitter feed or a Facebook page just constantly being the salesperson, constantly giving the elevator pitch about their deals and what are they offering, and there's really not a lot of audience interaction. So it's important to, @mention, tweet at people, ask them questions. Asking questions is something that we love to do.
And asking specific people, if you've got, for example, if you've got a restaurant deal, go and tweet that to the restaurant or the food bloggers or whoever is interested in that kind of content. I think a lot of successful brands that we see will be at tweeting or at replying to people about 60% or 70% of the time.
True.
I mean, it's really different from, a lot of other companies that are just farming out their information like a salesperson.
Right, and that brings us to our next point, which is show interest in your followers. Sometimes we see feeds that they grow a lot of followers, but they don't follow a lot of people back. They don't mention at them. They don't really do the research.
Yeah, maybe we want to talk a little bit, this is an interesting point, about following people back, because you do want to have kind of a ratio. You don't want to go crazy with following people. At least in the beginning, what we do is we really do start following people back. Later on, if it gets crazy, you can start unfollowing people, but you want to show them, right, that you really are interested in hearing from them.
Right, you care. You're thankful that they're following you. Go ahead and thank them. Don't give them the whole elevator pitch again, but thank them for following. Take a look at their website. Take a look at what they're tweeting. Maybe retweet a couple things that they're saying, and they'll really appreciate it.
Maybe we want to talk a little bit, and I think this is the next point, is defining your value proposition. Why should someone follow you? And one of the things we want to address today is really the bio, your profile on Twitter, which is really important.
True. It's very important to have a picture on Twitter and a bio on Twitter. If people don't have these two things to look at, they probably won't follow you. I know how important it is when I see people following me. I go through, I click on their profile, and I kind of assess what's in it for me. What can I get out of this? You know?
The next thing is just talking about authenticity, and I really love talking about this because it really goes back to what your brand stands for. And as a marketing strategy, you really need to think about this. If you are invested in social media, which you should be, everyone should be by now, you need to understand that authenticity is key. And I think that's a problem. A lot of times companies sort of act like they're not human, and they're kind of like just sending out these tweets randomly, and that's a turn off for a lot of companies.
Definitely, you don't want to be like the celebrity that you look at their Twitter feed and you know that it's not really the celebrity tweeting, it's their publicist. People can tell in a second. So you really want to be human about it. You want to go through and you want to talk to people. You want to use common language. You don't want to be stuffy or use business terms all the time. It's really important to just get everybody interested and sort of open your arms to everybody on Twitter who might be interested in following you.
Yeah, and one of the brands I think that does a really good job of this is Zappos. Zappos are really open. They've done a lot of videos on YouTube, and you probably know some of these videos, but it really gives you a sense of who is behind the scenes. For a company that prides themselves on customer service, and they're obviously they have embraced social media from the beginning, to do that and to open up their walls to the outside and to show the community, what's really going on behind the scenes. That takes a lot of guts to do that, but that's really what social media is all about.
Right, it's about opening your doors to everybody and saying, hey, like here we are having a conversation with you. And a lot of people think that they can do that by just following the trending topics, by signing on and saying, oh, here's some things everybody's talking about. I might as well tweet about them. I might as well use this hashtag in my tweet today. That's not true. A lot of these things are if they don't apply to your Twitter model, don't use them. Don't feel like you have to. A lot of things, what Charlie Sheen is saying today about Tiger Blood or Team Sheen won't really apply to your ethic on Twitter.
Right, that's a big mistake. A lot of brands, they go to Twitter and they see the trending topics and they're like, well, we should be tweeting about, we'll get more followers this way. You may get followers this way, but number one, you're probably going to damage your brand. And number two, you're going to get the wrong followers.
Right.
You're not going to get the right, you really want to target the audience. And I think that's the beauty of Twitter a lot of times. You can actually get into a lot of these communities that before Twitter and before social media, certainly, you wouldn't be able to access.
Right, and when you make your hashtags on your tweets, don't be afraid to use hashtags. They're a great tool. What you want to do is you want to find the words that your audience might be looking for. So maybe it's location-based. Maybe it's New York City, LA. Hashtag those. It might be you're tweeting about restaurants or food or travel. Hashtag those words. People will be looking for those when they're going through Twitter.
Yeah, and I think this is a really last point here, and it's a real simple one, is to be able to integrate all of your social networks. And we've talked a lot about Twitter and Facebook today, but we also do a lot of work on Foursquare. LinkedIn is another one. I mean, there are so many different opportunities.
Right. Twitter is a great way to break the ice because you can follow people on Twitter easily, and a lot of times they'll follow you back if they find you interesting. You can find a lot of key influencers and a lot of communities on Twitter, like you said, and you can tweet about your Facebook page and your Foursquare page and get people to follow you that way.
Yeah, so we talked about a lot of stuff today, and thanks for watching this. What we'd like to do is, if you have any questions, we invite you to tweet to us. And you can actually tweet to me directly at Mindy Joyce. We will be happy to answer any questions that you have, any comments, any brands that you're just tired of hearing from. Let's hear it. Let's take a look at what they're doing, and we'll get back to you with our feedback. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.